Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Berkeley County Board of Education meeting this Tuesday, March 23rd. I call this meeting to order and I declare a quorum is present. The media has been notified. Prior to the approval of the agenda, I am removing items 2C and 2D from the executive session agenda. Item 2C will be included in the Finance and Capital Planning Committee meeting on April 13th. Item 2D will be discussed in the Superintendent's report, Capital Projects Update on April 13th. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion. Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Tanner, a second by Ms. Littleton. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Unanimous consent. The agenda is approved. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the board meeting on March 9?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Wofford makes a motion. Ms. Maroon, second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Unanimous consent by a vote of 6-0. Do we have a motion to enter into executive session?
Make a motion.
Ms.
Second.
Tanner and Ms. Littleton. Ms. Tanner makes a motion. Ms. Littleton seconds. The stated purpose of entering into executive session is for the discussion of pending employment matters to include the appointment of an administrator. All in favor respond by raising your hand. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. We are in executive session. session.
Make a motion?
Motion by Ms. Tanner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Maroon. Is there any discussion? For the record, no action was taken in executive session. All in favor of returning to regular session, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries by a vote of 6-0. We are in regular session. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to say that we have, for our national anthem this evening, a video of the Marrington Middle School of Arts Chorus. Would you please rise and remain standing for a moment of silence?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light was the world at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched, where some gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. We have an additional video, a song, White Winter Hymnal by the Marrington Middle School of Arts 7th and 8th grade chorus.
I was following the eye, 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 was following the pack, all solid in their coats, with stars of red tied round their throats, to keep their little heads from falling in the snow. And I turned round and there you go, and Michael you would fall, and turn the white snow red as strawberries in the summertime. I was following the pack, all swallowed in their coats, with scars of red tied round their throats, to keep their little heads from falling in the snow. And I turned round and there you go, and Michael you would fall, and turn the white snow red as strawberries in the summertime. arrowheads from falling in the snow. And I turned round and there you go. And Michael, you would fall and turn the white snow red as strawberries in the summertime.
Thank you for that applause. We really appreciate Ms. Harrop and her faculty and staff, the choral director of Marrington Middle School of the Arts, and the entire chorus for our presentation this evening. And I do not see any citizens' comments for this evening. So the next item on the agenda are reports from the standing committees. First, a report from the Committee on Academics and Innovation, Chairwoman Kathy Littleton.
Mr. Chairman, the Committee on Academics and Innovation on March 9th, 2021. On recommendation of the committee, I move to approve the Head Start Budget Expenditure Report for January 2021 and Head Start Credit Report for January 2021.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Likewise. Motion carries 7-0.
Also, on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve the 2021-2022 instructional calendar for second reading as presented by administration.
Also, on the recommendation of the committee, no second is required. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? It is approved by a vote of 7-0.
Also, on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve the draft 2022 to 2023 instructional calendar as presented by administration.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Excuse me, Ms. Wofford.
Have we gotten any feedback in between this being put out for the first reading and coming to the full board? Have we gotten, I know we did surveys, but has anybody reached out to the administration to give any feedback? Okay, thank you.
The answer was no feedback. Mr. Jackson, thank you.
Call for vote?
You. I need to call for the question. All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Also, on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve the proposed dates for the 2021 middle and high school summer programs.
We have another recommendation from the committee. No second is required. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Also, on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve the compliance waivers from the following state board regulations to support a virtual school of choice for grades 9 through 12. 43-234 2B, 43-205C, 43-2054B 2, 43-2052B1, 43-2054B3, 59-1-425A, 43-222A. Approval for the district to request compliance waivers from the following state board regulations to support an online earning program for grades 3 through 8, 43-231-2, 43-232-2A, 43-232-1, 43-232-1A, 43-231-4, A through C, 43-232-3, A, B, 43-2052-B1, 43-2053, B3, 43-22A.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any discussion?
Can you please repeat that? I'm just
Mr.
I think
Barrow,
we recorded that. We can play that back.
like that.
Ms. Wofford.
I do want to, for the benefit of the public, if they didn't watch the committee meeting, this is the approval of the waivers, not the approval of the financial expenditure. So the waivers go first, and then we'll be approving the financial aspect of this.
That's correct. And Dr. Wolf gave a detailed report on that last meeting. And if you have any questions, look back on that other video and you'll see what we're talking about. So all in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Also, on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve the first reading of the J.K. Gordine Elementary proposal.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any discussion? Ms. Wofford.
I feel like I'm the person tonight. On this proposal, can somebody go back, and I don't know who the somebody is, and talk to me about the financial expenditure, the number of students, the financial expenditure, and over how much time the financial expenditure will be made? Am I, okay, I'm sorry, I don't know who I'm asking.
Dr. Kelly Wolf is recognized to answer Ms. Wofford's question, as well as Dr. Theodore Prelow.
Thank you, Chair Barrow, members of the board, Superintendent Ingram. Currently, right now, we have 105 students, and so it would be bringing Head Start, CERDEPT, and preschool self-contained students. And Ms. Stapleton, how many students is that total? Those are existing programs that are going to be moved back to JK, so there would be no expenditure to move those back.
They're currently at St. Stephen Elementary, or are they at Bonner?
They are. Ms. Stapleton, can you please?
Do we know that our families want to go from St. Stephen Elementary to J.K. Gordine as far as the Head Start side of it?
So these would, for the Head Start students, unless they're
Can you?
For Head Start, unless they're currently 3-year-olds, these would be new students coming into our program for the 4-year-old program. So there is a chance there might be some 3-year-olds that could roll up into that 4-year-old program. And then for CERDEP, it would be our new students for 4-year-olds. We can have a max of 20 in each program. So for our 3 CERDEPs, that would be 60, and for our 2 Head Start, that would be 40 each. And then preschool self-contained, the max would be 16 to 18.
So you'd still have Head Start and all that at St. Stephen Elementary? Is
No,
that what I'm
ma'am.
hearing?
Those programs would be moved over to JK.
They would be moved. Okay.
What are the numbers of children that would be in those programs from the J.K. area?
Specific to those attendance zones, do you know, Dr. Prelow, how many are in that program right now for CERDEP?
At CERDEP, currently at our school,
We
have
can't hear you.
10. I'm sorry, apologize. Currently, we have 10 students in our CERDEP program that are in the JK attendance zone currently now. We haven't had, of course, registration has not started yet. We're trying to get a projection of how many students that actually will qualify for a CERDEP program in the JK Gordine attendance area, but we don't have that number.
Will this leave a funding deficit at St. Stephen Elementary School?
Right, those programs would just automatically be moved over. So those allocations, those fundings would automatically move over. So that would not impact their programs for early learning, because those programs would just be automatically moved over to JK.
But I mean, their number of principals or their other staff that supports the Head Start and CERDEP, would that be affected by moving these students?
Yeah, not currently, Dr. Willie, I don't want to speak for admin, correct? That would not, no, it would not impact.
Okay. So we think we'll be busing children from the St. Stephen Cross. What communities would the 60 children come from that will be going to JK?
Correct. So it could be any of those areas. So for our early learning programs, since we do not have them at every single elementary program, they're able to go to their home school and or the next closest program as long as seats are available. And then, of course, once those seats are full, then we have some students and families that choose to possibly travel even further so that they can still have a seat in one of those programs.
Okay.
So of the 2- and 3-year-olds at St. Stephen, about how many are there that would then be bused to J.K.?
So the programs that we would be moving, they would be those that are coming from Head Start and our CERT Up. And so right now, there would be 2 of the CERT Up and 2 of the Head Starts. So that could be a possibility if their programs are maxed out. That would be a possibility of 80 students.
Of the 105 students, is that the total enrollment number currently of those, or are certain students attending in person, others attending blended, virtual?
That is the total number in person and blended,
That's-
traditional and blended, yes.
What is the breakdown of students that are actually attending the school in person of that?
In person, about 64.
64 in-person students at
Yes,
JK now. And what's the capacity of the school?
The capacity of the school is 800.
It's 800, okay.
And
Does CERDUP and Head Start provide their own part of transportation, or do we subsidize transportation for those
So
students?
for Head Start, we have to get a waiver, and Ms. Jones, speak up if I'm saying something incorrectly. But for CERT Up, they're able to join those buses.
Okay.
For the audience information, this is basically phase 1 of a phase 2 program. Later in the meeting, we will have a presentation about phase 2. So is there any other discussion?
I guess I have one more question. So minus the CERDUP and Head Start expenditure, what is the additional general fund expenditure for the phase 1?
At this time, there's no additional costs. There is some curriculum costs to put the maker spaces in, and that is embedded in the academic budget, in that we budgeted for the professional development center, and the maker space is $20,000.
Okay.
And the makerspace that's for the Head Start?
They are for all students that would be at JK. We are buying 2 of those, and that's part of the partial magnet that we're building out in terms of those exploratory pathways for students.
Have we asked our Head Start families about, have we surveyed, have we done anything to get their opinions on moving schools?
We will be
I've-
giving them some choice. We certainly don't want to force moves. We will be continuing to expand out our preschool, and we'll talk a little bit about that birth to 5 solution when we talk about the community part as well.
So is there a choice to stay at St. Stephen's?
Okay, there
Is
will-
that part of it?
Yeah, right. That's definitely, we can, if that's the request of the board, we can definitely consider that. The current recommendation was to move those programs, but by all means, we can definitely revisit that and look at those allocations.
I mean, I just think, as a parent, when you have a young child, and if you've already started at a school, you get comfortable, you become a family.
Right.
You feel that in the atmosphere, and I have a concern with moving that
I
from
do
St.
agree with
Stephen's.
that in regards to possibly surveying our parents' community.
Before we make some kind of decision like this, I just think it's important.
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. We have 2 opposed. We have 4. The motion fails 4-2.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Next is the Committee on Finance and Capital Planning, Chairman Mac McQuillan.
The Committee on Finance and Capital Planning met on March 9, 2021, and on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve the second reading of Policy KG, Public Use of School Facilities.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Also, on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve the award of IFB 586-2021 for kitchen appliance repair parts to Hobart Services, Partstown LLC, and Pro Kitchen Online LLC for an initial term of 1 year estimated at $40,000 with the option to renew for 4 additional 1-year terms for a potential contract value of $200,000.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any discussion? Ms. Wofford.
No, I'm good. I was just moving. Let's go. Kitchen appliances are
You
easy.
certainly recognize. All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries unanimous.
Also, on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve RFQ 587-2021 as an indefinite delivery contract for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineering services to DWG Incorporated Consulting Engineers and RMF Engineering Incorporated for a maximum contract term of 2 years or until the maximum contract value of $300,000 is reached, with no single project to exceed $100,000.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, call the question. All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Unanimous consent.
Also, on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve the award of RFP 588-2021 for a safety shoe program to the Boot Jack Incorporated for an initial one-year term with an estimated value of $50,000 with the option to renew for 4 additional one-year terms and a potential contract value of $250,000.
Have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries unanimous consent.
Also, on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve the award of IFB 589-2021 for chef coats for child nutrition to the Happy Chef Incorporated for an initial contract term of 1 year for an estimated value of $10,069.90 with the option to renew for 4 additional one-year terms for a potential contract value of $54,349.50.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Unanimous consent. Motion passes.
Also, on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve RFP 591-2021 to replace core switching infrastructure at 23 locations to Bridge Tech Solutions LLC for an estimated initial contract value of $290,697 with the option to extend the contract for 4 additional one-year terms for, quote, as-needed purchases contingent upon E-rate funding allocations.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hands. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Also, on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve RFP 592-2021 to provide and install uninterruptible power sources at multiple locations to Bridge Tech Solutions LLC for an estimated initial contract value of $188,680 with the option to extend the contract for 4 additional one-year terms for as-needed purchases contingent upon E-rate funding allocations.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Also, on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve RFP 593-2021 to expand wireless capabilities at multiple locations to DISYS Solutions Incorporated for an estimated initial contract value of $193,282.91 with the option to extend the contract for 4 additional one-year terms for as-needed purchases contingent upon E-rate funding allocations.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Motion passes unanimous consent.
Also, on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve BVB 2021 as an indefinite delivery contract for roofing contractors to Reich Roof Services, Inc., Southeast Roofing Solutions Incorporated, Roofco Incorporated of Sumter, South Carolina, and Tecta America Carolinas LLC for a maximum term of 2 years or until the maximum value of $750,000 is reached with no single project to exceed $150,000.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Also, on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve the award of IFB 595-2021 to purchase hot water heaters or boilers on an as-needed basis from Thermal Resource Sales Incorporated for an initial term of 1 year for an estimated value of $60,791.04 with the option to renew for 4 additional one-year terms for a potential contract value of $303,955.20.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Unanimously consented.
That concludes my report.
Mr. Barrow, can I get a point of information? For my notes on item 6F, I got 2-4, which is only 6. Was there an abstention of anybody, or did I write it down wrong?
You know, I said 2-4, but there are 7 members. We probably need to, revisit that.
I'll say I don't have a right count. Maybe
Okay.
somebody abstained. I don't know.
I only saw 2 people raise their hands in favor and 4. Was there any abstentions on that?
Abstained.
Was there anybody besides Ms. Marone and myself that voted in favor of that motion?
I voted in favor, but I also wanted to.
I can't hear you, ma'am.
So it's
I voted in favor, but I also wanted to poll or at least do a survey to see
Okay,
what the.
so it was
community statement-
3-4.
Thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out, Ms. Walker.
Hard to figure out after the fact. For Lacey, it's hard. She'll be
I'm sure she
watching,
appreciates that.
she'll be watching the video, trying to count our hands.
Thank you, Mr. McQuillan. Next item on the agenda will be the superintendent's report. Dr. Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, board members, members of the audience. Before I turn the bulk of my time over, I want to just thank Amy for being here. Amy Hardison, thank you for Teacher Forum. I know I said it a couple of weeks ago, but what our teachers have accomplished this year is nothing less than miraculous. And I mean that. There's another district that I'm very familiar with that they're not going back in person until April 12th. And their teachers have actually been home all year. So they are a little bit behind where we are. And I don't think there's any district in the country that has done it any better than Berkeley. That's no credit to me, of course. All the credit goes to the teachers and the staff that has made that happen and done that safely. So thank you again from the bottom of my heart. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't point this out. We held a vaccine clinic with Liberty Doctors Group over in West Ashley this past Saturday. We vaccinated another 340 people. In total, we have vaccinated approximately 1,500 employees to date. This does not include employees who may have made their own arrangements to get their vaccines in other places. So we think there are a lot of people who got shots in their arms now. The second round of the Pfizer vaccine that was administered on Saturday will be April 10th. And I think we've got a clinic scheduled at St. Stephen Middle on April 22nd from 21st? April 1st, I'm sorry. April 1st from 4:30 to 7, I think. It's not? I messed that up then. What is it? Okay, and then the second shot. Gotcha. I got the second shot, not the first. But
I
that's-
hate to intervene here, but for people on the video, they didn't hear you. Could you go to the microphone and explain that? That might be helpful.
There will be a clinic at St. Stephen's Middle School on April 1st from 9 to 2:30 and from 3:30 until. This is a drive-through clinic. It will be the first of 2 doses. The second dose for the vaccine will be April the 22nd at St. Stephen's Middle from 3:30 to 7:30.
Thank you, Dr. Whitley.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. I left out the first dose there. I'm going to yield the remainder of my time to Dr. Barnett Berry with All for SC. He'll introduce his colleagues and give the board an overview of the whole child community school concept. Dr. Berry, welcome to Berkeley County.
Thank you so much for having us here tonight. Chairman Barrow, board members, Dr. Ingram, community of Berkeley, we're thrilled to be here tonight to be part of a conversation to help support education transformation in the state of South Carolina. I'm a native South Carolinian who lived most of my life here, but for the last 18 years I've been working around the country to support more equitable systems of public education and to advance the teaching profession, Amy. Proud to hear so much of the great work of teachers here in Berkeley County. I'm with my colleagues Don Doggett and Phyllis Martin. Don is a senior colleague of ours at All for SC, which I'll describe in just a bit, and one of, I guess, more unusual person that has done almost everything in education, from teaching to being a superintendent, and is one of the leading experts in the state on building 0 to 5 strategies for advancing new opportunities for children and their families so they can have later school success. And then Phyllis Martin, a colleague of ours who's the new CEO of Tri-County Cradle to Career, who has a long history of working with United Ways around not just the South Carolina, but around the region. United Ways are powerful institutions that can help us bring together people and programs who often work in silos that keep us from having the kind of collective impact that is so necessary for us to close achievement and opportunity gaps here in South Carolina and across the nation. And I'm going to turn it over to both Don and Phyllis in just a few moments. I'd like in the next few moments, with my cold that I have, hopefully I can be understood with this frog in my throat down here. Forgive me. But just in the next few minutes, I'd like to say just a few words about what All for SC is, provide a little bit more background on what whole child education is, and by the way, what it isn't, and then ask Don to give you a brief overview of the kind of 0 to 5 or birth to 5 work that's ongoing in Fairfield, which is where our first partner site has emerged, Fairfield County, just north of Columbia. And then Phyllis to talk about a little bit about community engagement, building on the extraordinary work that's already begun in the J.K. Gordine community with Reverend Barnes and Dr. Pralo and many, many others. Let me just say quickly, as I returned to the faculty just about 16 months ago, I would recommend not trying to do this type of work in the middle of the pandemic, but I will say this: the pandemic has laid bare the colossal inequities that have always been with us and has made the disparities that have been so great even greater. It also has disrupted the system in such a way that we can find, I think, some innovative approaches in coming out of this awfulness of this past year. All for SC is how a research university, and I like to say from medicine to music and engineering to education and everything in between, can be brought together in a de-siloed way to serve the needs of South Carolina's public school communities as defined by the communities, not by us at the university. Our job is to accelerate, support, facilitate. The expertise has to come from the community, driven by the community. Whole child education, actually, you're already doing so much of this in different schools across the county. And almost in every school system, you'll see some elements of how we're beginning to not just educate a young person on the basis of their academic needs, but also their cognitive, their social, their physical, and aspirational needs, and do it in a coherent way that really drives the supports they need in order to achieve not just life success, but also life fulfillment. We know so much more from the science of learning that tells us a great deal about how toxic stress undermines academic development. And now we know a whole lot more about how to address toxic stress amongst young people and their families to help us really serve young people and those families. Let me quickly say, if that is what whole child education is, bringing together people and programs to accelerate results for young people and their families, let me just quickly say what whole child education is not. It's not another program. For us educators in the room, we have lived with decade after decade after program after program. A lot of good ones. They often land on other ones. They're not as good. Wears out educators. and does not get to the collective impact. This is not another program, it's a strategy. It's not about top-down school reform. We've done enough of that in the United States. It's not about one size fits all. There are about 5,000 community schools across America. I'll tell you just a brief bit just about what makes them effective. Every one of them is different. Adheres to principles in the science of learning, but different. It's got to be different. And it's not a quick fix. It is, it's a journey. It's more of a marathon, or at least a 10K. It's not a sprint. A couple of quick guiding principles, and I'm going to turn it over to Don in just a skinny second. First, it's got to begin with the community, not with the experts at the university, that's for sure. It's got to begin with students, parents, business and faith leaders, educators, and other helping professionals. Think social work, think mental health, think a variety of other business opportunities and apprenticeships that we can bring into our schools in more coherent and powerful ways. Another guiding principle is we've got to create more time for educators, particularly teachers, to work more effectively in collaboration with colleagues, both inside the education community and outside of them. It builds directly from existing assets. J.K. Gordine, for example, has many, many assets. We build from there. It embraces the reimagining of the school day and school year, right, Dr. Ingram? We've talked about this. A school like J.K., 100 kids in a building of 800. Think about how that space can be utilized to be even more of a hub of a community that the school already is. Finally, you got to have some specialized expertise to bring all those people and programs. Effective community schools have something called a community school coordinator or a navigator. I like to say that person is part social worker, part community organizer, and part teacher and principal. A quick word, the 143 studies show when community schools are effectively implemented, they're built around 4 pillars, dramatically improves achievement and increases powerful outcomes on other measures like absenteeism, graduation rates, and more. Community integrated student supports, pillar 1. Imagine every child in a school having an integrated data plan that actually helps professionals work with that child around the academic, the social, the physical, the emotional. Imagine the assets of the Dad's Club that's already at J.K. Gordine, coupled with what we know so much more about evidence-based mentoring and the like, and how we can put those two together to have a more powerful outcome. Active family community engagement. Think about how we work with parents in even more effective ways and how we bring parents into the school because of all kinds of supports and services we have for them, adult education and beyond in a building. That's also the hub of a community. Expanded learning opportunities through after-school programs that are evidence-based and are connected to what I like to call the 7:30, 3 o'clock curriculum. And then finally, collaborative leadership practices. Think about how we even expand our school improvement councils to include folks from Head Start, include folks from the business sector, include folks from the social services and the like that can bring in to put all these pieces of the puzzle together. Again, this is a journey we'd love to take with you. We're already beginning to work in Fairfield and Marlborough, and we look forward to the conversation and the opportunity to change the world and better the lives of children and their families here in Berkeley County. Don, you want to say a few words about 0 to 5?
So if you imagine, let's see if we can go back, the 4 pillars that Burnett talked about, and think about how you can begin supporting a school. We first started having a conversation with Dr. Green in Fairfield. One of the first things we were doing, we were asset mapping, looking at some of the services and things that they had available. He didn't have any capacity, or they weren't currently serving children from 0 to 3. Part of what we're looking at doing is creating a 0 to 5 framework. And in order to have a 0 to 5 or 0 to workforce framework, as you're building it, you've got to serve newborns or those from 6 weeks old. And so we entered into conversations with Gleams Human Resource Services up in Greenwood, which serves Fairfield. And Fairfield County, there are two ways that you can start serving 0 to 3-year-olds, 36 months. It's either through expanding Head Start or through a child care partnership. And as a former state director for child care partnership, I knew that the easiest way for us to begin accelerating this was to enter into an agreement with Gleams to do a child care partnership. And so Fairfield County School District is going to be a child care provider from 0 to 3s. They already are serving 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, but now we get to serve some of the most fragile learners in some really unique ways. We're partnering with First Steps, again, to help bring quality. So not only are we going to serve the 0 to 3s in Fairfield, but we're also going to empower mom and pop shops, churches, any other daycare, anyone else that's caring for a 0 to 3, we're going to provide some of the same training with them. If they want to partner with Gleams and increase their rating for a QRS, that's just the ABCD rating that child care facilities have, then we're going to help them partner and increase their ratings and their capacity to begin serving our youth. As we look at professional development, they're going to be able to take advantage of the professional development. So the same things that the regular teachers that are going through in Fairfield County, the 0 to 3 class will, and the community will be able to take advantage of that as well. And so the district is our third partner in making sure that we have all 4 pillars taken care of. Lastly, we're creating career pathways. And so we're looking at this being a model. We're partnering with Midlands Technical College. And Midlands Technical College is actually going to give classes free to any of the child care teachers who want to come in and get that 60 hours. So they don't have to get a CDA and have to get continuing classes. They're going to get the 60 hours, which now opens them up for a partnership with USC to be able to go and get a 4-year degree if they want to. If they decide they want to work for the school district, we have that. We're going to have a lab so that we're training high school students that might want to look at child care or look at something else in infant and toddlers or even health care to begin observing and working with that. We're looking at PITC, which is an approach that talks about the whole child, and it's a continuum of care. So the student is with the same caregiver from the time that they're 6 weeks old until they're at least 36 months, unless we expand the program. And so it's that loving, nurturing, continual adult that's in that child's life for at least the first 3 years while they're forming. Again, like I said, university is a partner. We're looking at other business partners that are in Fairfield, bringing them, creating this coalition, working with Fairfield Forward, and really looking at taking this idea of moving and looking at the whole child from the time that they're born until they're 5 years old, then imagining what that school day is going to look like to continue supporting the community, those students, while they're in first grade, second grade through 5th grade, and then all the way up, continue building this model until they graduate and go to college. And so now I'll let Phyllis talk about some of those community partnerships.
Thank you, and my thanks for having us here this evening. I think both of my colleagues really said so well and demonstrated so well the significance and impact of strong and ongoing community engagement, and you all touched on it yourselves as you were discussing one of the items tonight. The question at hand is always, what do students and parents think? And the work of community schools is really based on a strong engagement strategy that includes and allows for those voices of students and parents to be co-developing along with us and with communities to ensure what we often call a strong civic infrastructure, but really I call it sustainability. And so what I've seen over the course of my experience, both with United Way and now with Tri-County Cradle to Career, is that we have much longer sustainability on initiatives when families and students are part of that process. And that's an ongoing process because we know that when we put down an initiative, that's just the floor, that's just the beginning. What we learn together as we're going through that and as we are implementing that initiative is bound to have to be course corrected at some point in time. And how we do that together, I think, does a couple of things, right? It allows us to move further faster, and it also ensures that we are listening all of us, and hearing each other. As we have been talking together about what this potentially could look like, we've also been talking to funders who have a very strong interest in ensuring that community engagement is at the heart of how this work gets built. They're very interested in knowing how we might do this together, both to get the work started, but also on an ongoing basis, so that as we're looking at this moment in time, as Dr. Berry said, we're using this moment in time to really think differently, or to stick to, right, what we said we were going to do. So Tri-County Cradle to Career is pleased to support and be part of this work in any way, shape, or form that we can, but with emphasis on the significance of community engagement being a solid driver and solid tool that we all can use and learn from as we go down this road together. Thank you so much.
This concludes my report for the night, unless there are any questions.
Is there any questions from the board for Dr. Berry? Ms. Wofford?
I do have one question, or maybe a series of questions. Have you already gone in or met with the JK community, and have you identified any potential childcare facilities? Have you gotten that far in the work in St. Stephen or JK community or cross community that there are childcare providers to partner with?
So there's a short answer and a long answer. Being the former state director, yes, there are two in Berkeley County that I was over for the Child Care Partnership. And one's Betty's Daycare in St. Stephen's, and Christian and I still communicate. We've looked at active childbirth to see how many, and so long answer is we've been looking at your demographics and seeing how many newborns were born in Berkeley as a whole. One of the things, if you were looking at, and I'm just a big dreamer here, you could have a whole early learning wing of 0 to 3 and serve all the 0 to 3 in the Pineville, St. Stephen's, JK area if there's space and things that you want, because there are babies that are born that could be served that would qualify. In terms of meeting with the community, that's the next step once we engage a little bit further with this process. With Dr. Ingram and the board's permission, is to engage and do asset mapping in a community to find out what the community wants. We don't want to come and do it, and we've had this conversation even today. We're not doing anything to the community. We have to allow the community to know what this program, this model, this initiative is, and then what it could be in terms of what they want it to be. And so the only way to do that is to fully engage them, have conversations, show them what it could be, show them what they could have, because I liken it, like I said earlier today. I said, Barnett, I'm going to teach you to play golf. You tell me what you need to play golf. Well, he doesn't know everything. So part of the education is letting him know all the parts and things, and then letting him pick and choose what he wants to do to be able to play golf with me. And so we want to engage the community in much the same way.
Ms. Wofford, can I give you the long game answer to this?
Well, I actually grew up in St. Stephen, so I'm very familiar with the area, and I'm very concerned. I mean, it's a concern that there's a deficit of childcare in that part of the county anyway. And so when you're talking about partnerships, Miss Betty's is about the only place I could think of. So I'm thinking, who are the partners? I mean, we have to generate the partners before we could even take the first step, because I know there's disparity there and unavailability.
There's huge, and not just for the little ones. Part of our job, and as Dr. Ingram knows, we are working on the parallel side of public policy, because the existing system is not designed to serve every child and his or her family well in this way. Our job is to help influence and support system change at the policy level and new financing models that really do drive the kinds of supports that every community, no matter how many early childhood care facilities they have there or not. Our job is, if there's need and there's not asset yet, our job is to work with you to build those assets, build a case for those assets, build a case for those investments, so that every child can receive the public education they so richly deserve. That's the long game, but I got my track shoes on.
How long have these programs been in Fairfield and Marlboro?
Well, you can answer that one. I just want to go back. So I'm going to go back and answer Ms. Wofford's. So in Fairfield, there's one child care that is licensed, and it's currently a C. And so on average, they're anywhere from 260 to 312 babies born every year since 2017 to 2019. So we expect that to explode. So they're currently not being served. So as Barnett said, our goal is to be able to serve as many as we can through the partnership, but also work with the community to identify other child care facilities to either become licensed and work with them to get their license, provide the free training and all the information that they need to begin starting up. And if they want to partner with the local CAP agency, Community Action Agency, then show them how to do that as well. Even if it's in-home child care, we still want to provide training because we know that someone's caring for those babies. And so it's, you know, in terms of what we're doing in Fairfield, about 2 years now in terms of working, and then the pandemic hit. So we have just done the site visit. And so Gleams is actually bringing about $250,000 for renovations to outfit just 2 classrooms with the goal of extending to 48. And so if there are 260 babies born every year and we're only serving 50 of them, there's room for us to begin developing the community and mapping those different areas where we could help identify and grow and groom other child care facilities. And so I'm gonna let Barnett finish answering your question if I didn't.
Okay. It was Dr. Wigfall, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Well, I guess my next question is, how successful have those 2 programs in those counties? What's the data on that? Because I'm hearing that this is a developing program.
Well,
and you all have been within those counties for 2 years.
Well, actually, we started conversations about 2 years ago. All for SC was launched about 16 months ago. We have begun to provide some pipeline services like evidence-based mentoring, like or some early childhood supports, social emotional learning supports. But the larger coherent cradle-to-career strategy has yet to be developed. We are working and building off a body of evidence of how other education systems have done this and done it well. And that is the model that we're following here.
Barnett, didn't you say in a previous discussion you had done some review of other states like Ohio and?
Well, Ohio and Georgia are 2 states in particular that have built whole child infrastructures and are beginning to build out more of these what are called community schools, where more fully integrated services from the academic to the social to the physical are fully integrated into the academic core. There are about like I said before, there are about 5,000 pretty good examples. Some of them are outstanding examples around the country where they have stayed the course for multiple years and have delivered some very powerful outcomes. One of my exemplars is a school in downtown Los Angeles, supported, by the way, by UCLA, in bringing some of their resources to bear. This is a very, very high-need school system. 90% of their graduates go on to college, and the vast majority of them are the highest, the CU system, the UC system, excuse me. So it tells you that this type of system really can close the achievement gap and create new opportunities for young people that they would not have had before.
Hi. So I have had the pleasure of having multiple conversations about this program and getting J.K. Cardine to be a community involvement school. And it's not just about, it is definitely bringing the whole community together. And I personally know that the task force for J.K. Cardine has voiced their opinions to you about what they need and what they want and what they look for. So when they say that they haven't physically met with them, that is true, but the information is there. So I just want to clarify that to make it seem like that it's not that they don't know what they don't want, they just physically haven't had a formal meeting, but they have had conversations with the community. They've had conversations with the task force for J.K. Cardine, and I think that they have had more critique from me personally, asking them plenty of questions about this program. I do think that this is something that would definitely be positive for Berkeley County school districts. I do think that this is something that would be innovative and kind of setting us on the mark as far as educating the whole child and setting that precedence in our county. I think that starting from 0 up is a great opportunity because there is a lot of children by the time they get into kindergarten or K4, they could have benefit from having some education beforehand, but this isn't just about educating the child, it's about going forward and bringing in mental health, partnering with the community, having possible adult continuing classes to keep all of our community members pretty much within the community, and having as industry comes into South Carolina, being able to keep those that live in South Carolina able to obtain those positions as well. So I do want to make it seem like that, yes, I know that this was a presentation that they are, giving to the full board today, but I just wanted to voice my opinion to let them know and the public know that J.K. Cardine and the task force, myself, there's been people that you are familiar with, Reverend Barnes, Dr. Barnes, Dr. Prelu, and then the task force members, myself, have had several meetings about this. So if there is any more questions, after tonight, I'd be more than happy to discuss them as well.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Berry. I appreciate that. Thank you for coming. Last part of the meeting is the board chair update. I would like to announce that we have 2 board budget workshops, one on April 14th. It will be an effort to work together with the superintendent cabinet and the full board to make sure that we are doing the right thing for our children and for our employees with the resources that we have. Having said that, let me just say that the EFA funding, it looks like, is going to be reduced somewhat this year because of the 135-day report. So we may have a lesser amount of money coming from the state. So that is more of a challenge to us, but it's an opportunity for us to get together and work through this as a team. That is the superintendent cabinet and the board itself working together. The second budget workshop will be on April 27. It will follow the regularly scheduled board meeting on April 27. I reiterate, on April 14 will be a standalone budget board workshop. I believe it will be at 5:30 on that day, and on the second budget workshop will follow the regular board meeting on April 27. Is there any other comment from any other board members about any discussion? We'll call the question. All in favor to adjourn? Excuse me. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Ms. Wofford?
So moved.
And Ms. Marone. Motion by Ms. Wofford, second by Ms. Marone. All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Unanimous consent. We are adjourned.